By the time you watch this video, my vacation will be over and I'll be back, but I'm here to talk about the watch that I chose to wear on my summer vacation. It's the Rolex Explorer II 16570 with the polar dial. This is the story about why I love this watch and why it ended up being the watch I took with me on my vacation. Choosing a watch for a vacation for me is hard. I prefer taking not more than 1 or 2 watches on vacation. Usually I have a primary watch, and then I have a G-Shock or some other beta watch for pool swims and other more active activities where I might risk damaging the primary watch. I usually have some kind of sports watch as well, which I only use if I go for a run or go to the gym or something like that. The last 2 watches are a given. So this time around is the Jarman Phoenix for my runs, and then I have a 5610 G-Shock, which my wife got me as a birthday gift this year. The thing I love about the G-Shock is it's solar powered. I know the battery rarely ever wears out and it's not the hardest thing to change, but the fact is that it always comes as a surprise to me, and those batteries are always ridiculously hard to source. So there's always a period of time where it's flat and I don't have a battery, and that just annoys me. So solar power is a gift from the heavens as far as I'm concerned. The main watch, though, is a harder proposition for a couple of reasons. One, I have to commit in advance to what I'm going to wear for the next 2 weeks. I don't know what mood I'm going to be in. I don't know what will take my fancy. Watch selection for me is a kind of a day-to-day thing that depends of what I'll be doing, what I'll be wearing, but a lot about how I feel on the day. I don't know how I'll be feeling for the next 2 weeks, so I don't know what's going to work for me. Then I don't quite know what I'll be doing on the vacation. So, if I was in New York, one day could be museum visits and upscale restaurants and bars. That's one kind of watch. Or it could be upstate walking tours, Long Island, or I don't know, Connecticut, or for something, outdoorsiness, and that's a different watch. So that'll depend. Thirdly, I feel like I'm rejecting some of my other watches. I know it's a weird thing. Watches don't have feelings, but to me, putting a watch in a safe and say you were not chosen to be the special one that came with me on this vacation is almost as hard as telling me, which child not to take on their vacation. We're taking both of them, but yeah, it's just weird. It's a weird thing for me. So it just plays in. This is the 216-570 Rolex Explorer with the polar dial. This is a 42mm case with 21mm lugs and a lug-to-lug of around 50mm. It's the previous generation of the Rolex Explorer II, with the newest model being the 226-570 and the previous model being the 16570. You get the 3817 movement, which has 50 hours of power reserve and a GMT style function without the rotating bezel of the GMT Master 2. 100 meters of water resistance, date window with the classic Rolex Cyclops. I think the first Rolex Explorer II was released around 1971. That watch wasn't a GMT, but just was a watch where you could keep track of day and night in the event that you were in a cave somewhere for extended period of time and had no sun or night sky to make that assessment by. Of the most recent Rolex Explorer IIs, this is likely the least loved of the models. The Maxi case was a divisive one for many, being too large and overpowering for many people's tastes compared to the 16570 and the latest 226-570. Overall, the newest model is thinner, less bulky compared to my own. The hands on the newer model are thinner, the orange is slightly less punchy, the crown guards are thinner, and so are the lugs. So this new watch has 22mm lug to lug instead of 21. Now, how did I get this watch? I actually saw it in an airport AD in Poland one morning when on a business trip in 2019. On my journey back home that same evening, it was still in the window in the AD in the airport. So I walked in and asked if it was an exhibition model or it was reserved. I mean, by this time, Rolex was pretty much already sold out a lot of places. This one wasn't. So I chose to max out my credit card and said I'll have to live on oats and grains for the next couple of years to afford it. Why do I love this watch? There are 3 main things that I totally adore about this watch. First of all the Rolexes, this is the one that's most rugged to me. The older Rolex Submariners also had a level of ruggedness to them, but since the introduction of the ceramic bezels, all Submariners to me are statement pieces in the extreme. They've lost every single remnant of visible Tootishness. That's not to say that I don't like them, I do, but they're just not rugged or rough and ready. Same goes for the GMT Master 2. The Pepsi or the Batman or any manner of two-tone are far too shiny, polished, refined to in any way come across as rugged or hard-wearing. The Rolex Explorer, which at the time was only available in 39mm, was a little bit too bland or boring to me. I respect the history of the Explorer 1, but the 39mm gave me the same feeling as the Pelagos 39, a bit middle of the road or bland without much character. In this specific model, I actually love that Maxi case for the same reason. It's just that bit bulkier, which was what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for refined. I was looking for, in a Rolex, something that looked like it could take a beating and keep on ticking. Second, the white dial is a stunner and is almost universally styleable. There's not navy blue or green, which limits you in the choice of NATO or leather strap. Pretty much anything goes, with a few exceptions, because of that small spot of orange on the dial and the Explorer text and the second time zone hand. With white, although styleable, it still draws a lot of attention to itself, much more than a black dial would. It doesn't blend in, and whether it's summer or winter, that white just pops. This is one of the watches that I wear that I wrist roll the most when I have it on. Third, of the Rolexes, I like the fact that this is an ever so slightly less popular model. Like I said, I got this watch as a walk-in in 2019. Rolex stores were starting to be pretty much empty in 2019, but this model was still gettable. Only 2 months after I bought this one, I could still get one from a walk-in in the local bookery. Many people also disliked the Maxi case, which, I don't know, appealed to the contrarian in me, choosing the one relatively fewer people wanted. It's also a reasonably rare sight. I mean, I see a lot of 16570s in collector circles, but it's just not as accepted as one of the good Rolex iterations. Again, the contrarian in me likes people reacting with, oh, you have that one, okay. So that's precisely why I have it. How did I choose it for my vacation? It should be relatively obvious by now what I like about the watch. Specifically though, for this vacation, we were going on a vacation to Madeira, a group of islands in the Atlantic. The weather is usually warm and usually mild. It's mountainous. It can have rapid changes in weather, especially around the mountains. For us, we're going on an active family vacation. So we want the pool. I personally hate swimming in the ocean, salt water, and more importantly, sandy beaches are not something I enjoy. But a dip in the pool and then up and reading some books is what I do. At least that is until I get bored out of my mind. So I have to do something, and Madeira is filled with active day walks and hikes in multiple difficulty levels throughout the island. You get to see beautiful scenery, and if you choose a slightly harder walk, you'll be away from the worst crowds and be in a scenic backcountry all on your own relatively quickly. Finally, there's a reasonably good assortment of dining spots where the wife and I can have some good food with, excellent wine. I cycled between a couple of options on this trip. The two other options were my Black Bay GMT, which I did a review of, and the Omega Seamaster 007 No Time to Die in titanium. All three are relatively rugged and hard wearing. All three have the water resistance that would be a prerequisite for this trip, and all three are fairly flexible strap-wise. The 007 lost out because I wasn't in the mood for camo, army, jungle kind of things. My mind was leading toward linen t-shirts, white t-shirts, and other brighter, lighter clothing. Faux lume and grade 2 titanium was not what I had in mind. The Black Bay, it has the second time zone, which I knew I would love to have, although I think I could easily subtract that 1 hour in time difference without actually needing a watch to do it. It also fell for the same reason as the Seamaster. I wanted something light and bright and still rugged. The only obvious choice was the Explorer. Now, why might I not have chosen it? Well, generally, I'm a little bit careful with which watches I wear when I travel. I live in a very safe part of the world, but I've had my share of trips to London where friends have warned me not to display a Rolex or other expensive watch. A white dial Polar Explorer on a summer t-shirt kind of vacation is going to get noticed. Fortunately, at least I hope so, Madeira is not plagued by London or LA levels of crime, so I had no fear that it was going to get stolen. We'll see when I get back. Secondly, this watch has a lug width of 21mm. I have 0 straps that fit 21mm. I have 20 and 22mm, and if you've watched my videos, I can get really detailed, and I noticed that 1mm gap between the lugs and the strap. It can annoy me endlessly sometimes. And going on a trip where it's hot and humid and I'm going on hikes, I just know that at some point my wrists are going to swell beyond what the extension options are on the steel bracelet. So this watch was going to go on a strap. I got over it though this time, and the Explorer is on the trip with an anthracite tropic style rubber strap for the more toned down situation and with an orange ISO frame for day-to-day wear. Somebody will think that I overthink things based on the decision-making process around something as simple as which watch to wear on a vacation. But hey, we all have our luxury problems, and this is my luxury problem. I think I made the right choice for this trip. 10 days being an explorer in a new country with an Explorer on the wrist seems like the right choice for me. Now, for those of you going on a vacation soon, which watch will you be wearing? Let me know in the comments. And as for me, I'll let you know how the vacation with the Explorer went when I'm back. Like, subscribe. Cheers.